Oh, there we go.
Hi,
Oh, amazing.
sorry, go on, David. You go. You can start.
I was just saying, amazing. It's brilliant to see, yeah, everyone filtering through to take their digital seats.
We're going to leave it about a minute to kind of let everyone join, so we can see we've got kind of flooding in now, and then we'll kind of address kind of what to expect in the session, and introduce our panelists as well.
Amazing. And we were just establishing, weren't we, Harry, that you and I are the ant and deck of multi-entity month end with Xero.
Yeah, we weren't sure which one was Andy.
Yes, sir.
For our UK listeners, that will mean something for.
Yeah. That's very important context to provide.
Right, we've got we've got great numbers coming in already, actually. So we'll look to kick off the session. So, hello everybody, I'm Harry Symons from Joiin. Thank you very much for kind of attending and registering the webinar today. Multi-entity month-end with Xero, the Masterclass. We've got with our four esteemed panelists joining us today. I'll talk you through just kind of what to expect during the session as well, just to give you an idea of kind of the flow of how it's going to go. So we'll do some very quick intros. We'll then move into a 15 or 20-minute discussion around how you can use Xero and the tools around it to kind of create this really streamlined month-end process, particularly looking at it under the guise of a multi-entity finance professional. We'll then have some very short demos for 2 or 3 minutes each, kind of a trailer, more than anything, of the two acts. And then we'll move into a Q&A session at the end as well. So throughout the session, if anything kind of springs up or you've got some clarification or anything, please feel free to send in your questions at the chat box down the bottom right hand of your screen. And if you'd like a certain person on the panel to address your question, please feel free to kind of address it to them directly and we can pose it to them. I think kind of the plan of action is we're kind of expecting more questions than we're going to be able to answer in this session. We tend to get that kind of number. So anything you don't answer, we'll follow up via email as well when we send you the recording. So I'm going to hand over now very quickly to David, and he's going to introduce himself.
Brilliant. Thanks so much, Harry. Brilliant to be kind of collaborating together on this. So my name's David Tuck. I'm the co-founder and CEO at Mayday. Our mission is to mend month end, starting with the pain points of being a multi-entity business. I'm really excited to give you a quick trailer of Mayday, intercompany recharging, intercompany balance automation and cross-entity bank rec later. And yeah, it's just such a thrill to be able to collaborate with two phenomenal joint customers of ours and Joiin in Felix and Harriet today. So without further ado, I'll hand over to Harriet, if you'd be okay to go first, to give a brief intro.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, thanks for having me today, David. I'm Harriet. I'm currently VP of Finance at a UK startup called Arbolus, but very lucky to be based in sunny Barcelona. So we're a 4-entity multinational expert network, disruptive expert network. So we have offices in UK, Barcelona, New York, and Hong. So we've been using Mayday and Joiin for many months now, and they've been an excellent help on our journey towards delivering a successful multi-entity month end.
Hi everyone, I'm Felix, CFO at SINE Group. We're a marketing agency based in London and New York. We have 90 employees and 4 group entities. There are 4 of us in finance, including me, and we use Xero across the group. We're proud to, and also use Mayday and Joiin as core pieces of software to help us manage month end.
So just to kind of get warmed up a little bit for the registrants, we're going to introduce a poll very quick, just an understanding of kind of who's joining the session today. So I'm going to launch the poll here. Okay, so we'd like to know, how big is your group? how many entities do you have in the group? So got answers kind of flooding in. So I'll leave it kind of 20 seconds or so. We haven't got anyone with the 51 plus entities yet. So if that relates to you, great to get that 1% on there as well. So it looks like we're about 75% of the participants have answered now. So I'm gonna look to close the poll because we are a little bit pressed for time. So I'm gonna end the poll and I'm gonna share the results. And there's a kind of distribution as you'd expect. So 54% of attendees, 2 to 5 entities, and then kind of diminishing as we kind of go up. But we've got 8% people here in that kind of larger 21 to 50 entity group where, yes, kind of a software tool like Mayday or Joiin might add even more value for you as well. So I'm going to stop sharing that poll now, and we're going to go straight into the discussion part of the call.
Amazing. To start, let's kick it off with an open question. Harriet, Felix, what does month end look like for you as finance teams?
Sure. I mean, I could I'll step in quickly. For me, I view it as a recurring project management task, because I think one thing I've learned over time, it's really about motivating the team. I can't do it all myself. It really does rely on good resource planning. But also, when I talk about motivating, I think even if some people just play a small part within the whole process, it's giving them visibility over the process as a whole, really trying to give them agency and get them excited about that North Star, which is closing on time. And we always have that date that we're looking to close by. And I found it, I've really seen improvements in our process where I've got buy-in from team members, where they are proud to do the work that they're doing, and the piece that it plays in us closing on time.
Amazing. That's fascinating, Felix. Yeah, the idea of sort of motivating the team, looking at it as a recurring project management task. And there's a couple of great things we can dive deeper into subsequently. Harriet, over to you.
Yeah, I mean, great answer, Felix. Yeah, I think for us, I mean, it's been, the work of many months to constantly improve our month-end process and put more and more focus on it. I think now it's really, it's really that time of the month, like Felix says, where the whole team's rallying around. We've really created this environment where people want it to be, better each time, not just speed, but also accuracy. We've had a new finance manager in recently, and he's done an amazing job of really, pulling things together even tighter, making new checklists, like bringing the timelines down, really motivating the team, like Felix says. Yeah, and we're seeing, improvements each month. And then it's very nice to split the month into, you have these month-end days where everybody knows what their priority is and everybody's, in the trenches together. And then, we get through that and everybody feels great because they've done a better and better job each month. And then you leave the rest of the month free to, focus on other things, maybe work on improving things so next month's even better, working out like each month which tasks can be brought ahead of working day 1, for example, to take the pressure off. And every time, it's just those incremental improvements each time, and that's very, like Felix says, very motivating, I think, for the team to see those improvements too, and keeps a bit of spice and variety in month end as well. Like in a startup, no month end is ever the same. Every month there's new challenges, new problems to fix. But I mean, that's what we love working in these kind of businesses as well. It never gets boring.
So Harriet, you said there at the kind of beginning of your response, the improvements in month end can allow you to kind of make some changes that kind of make future month ends and close even better and more efficiently. Maybe some of the things that you've done recently, or maybe some of the things you're looking to do in kind of future month end, kind of improving your processes and how that might look, especially with that new finance plan that you mentioned as well.
Yeah, so one of the things we did recently is which I know Felix you use this too, we've implemented numeric. So we have our month-end checklist. We just use a basic version, but I would say something like we set it up once, and then the new finance manager came in and kind of reset it up again and reviewed all the things, reorganized the checklist, And that really helped. And I think, you know, there's no point having a checklist if people aren't held accountable to it, if people aren't constantly reviewing it, constantly updating it. So not only having a checklist, but having one that's used well is super important. And there's other things we put in recently that, you know, help take the load off during the month end, for example. You know, a big part of our month end is the billing, and there's a lot of transactions that go into that. Pulling forward the checks on those transactions, implementing like internal audits on those before the end of the month, so there's not a panic. I don't know, chasing receipts, chasing people for receipts once a week instead of once a month. Like these small things, posting payroll journals the day after payroll, which is, I don't know, if it's the 28th, then you can do that before. All these little things really help to lighten the load.
Amazing. And I might actually sort of switch to the other end of the spectrum. So, like Felix, I know you've been very long in role at SINE now. Now, Harriet, I remember when you were recruited into Arbolus, it was specifically, you know, with the mandate to put in place a kind of best-in-class tech stack to help facilitate month end. If you compare and contrast today to where things were at the beginning, if we go back to the beginning, because I'm really keen for our attendees today, you know, to have things they might sort of associate with in terms of challenges. What were the biggest challenges for you when it came to multi-entity month end with Xero?
Yeah, I can speak to that. I mean, to be honest, I've just been trying to maintain the development of the month end process in line with the development of the company and the complexity of the accounting. And so a key juncture for us where we did open a foreign entity, that's where I had a bit of a wobble, to be honest, and thought, oh no, we're going to have to leave Xero and go to a NetSuite or a Sage. Thankfully, I did a bit of research and I met David, who talked me down and was really happy to stay on Xero and then open my eyes to leveraging tools to essentially get off spreadsheets, because to begin with, our whole task management, all of the schedules were all within Google Sheets, which I think is fine for, say, a smaller team if there's you and one other person, if maybe there's one or two entities. But as soon as we got into particularly kind of multi-currency, intra-group loan reconciliations, things like that, the big risk with having spreadsheets as your source of truth for schedules is the opportunity for error, whether that's human error or just or formulas breaking. So yeah, I think that the overall challenge from day one, because I was in as an initial founder, was just kind of enhancing month end and improving it to make sure we kept pace with the growth of the company and the complexity of the month end process.
And Harriet, how about you? If you compare and contrast, what were the biggest challenges way back in the beginning?
So I would say actually one of the best outcomes from, you know, our biggest challenge at the start, like we didn't have great reporting because we didn't have Joiin, our intercompany was less accurate because we didn't have Mayday, for example. But I would say one of the biggest impacts from, you know, making these improvements, using these technologies, reducing the time to close, is the impact on our value add ability as a finance team has just been astronomical. Like now we can, you know, now the books are closed within the first few days. We can deliver very timely reporting to management, to shareholders. We can already think about what do we need to do this month. We run a leadership OKRs, KPIs session towards the start of each month. I don't know what working day that is, maybe between 5 and 7, so much earlier than we would be able to do otherwise if we hadn't have made all these improvements. And I think that's where we need to think about getting to, like, why do we need to close the books earlier? So because we all hate doing month end and we want to be done with it. Why? It's because, you know, if you're delivering these insights on 20th of the month or whatever, the next month's already done and you're in the cycle again, you need to leave yourself enough time to look at the data, work out the insights, you know, think strategically about what you can implement this month, improve things going forward. And that for me is like the real reason why we need to get the time down and get the accuracy up of month end.
Fantastic. And, you know, on the kind of the stacks that you've put in place. I think it's really useful for our attendees to have that context if they haven't already read the How I Stacked It section on the CFO Tech Stack weekly newsletter. But perhaps would you mind just both briefly sharing the systems you use as part of your month-end toolkit around Xero?
Yeah, sure. I imagine they may be very similar actually, but you could say that the centralized sort of task management solution is numeric, and that integrates deeply with Xero, which is great. And you can set a template sort of checklist, which is across all entities. So, but then there's lots of ability to filter. So it's a really great way of managing resourcing, understanding dependencies or blockers, and really that's played a big part in us improving our days to close. And then obviously Mayday has become a real core part of intragroup reconciliations and things like that. Obviously recharges as well. And then Joiin we use for our ultimate consolidation. Again, it's right there, it's the output. And I would say those three pieces of software are essentially core to how we manage month end.
Yeah, ours are very similar. So apart from the we obviously have other softwares that we use throughout the month, like Spendesk, we use Tapality to pay our experts, but very similar. We work from Google Sheets, so we have Gacon API to pull in data to Google Sheets. That's very helpful for running automated reconciliations, for example, and reviewing single entity accounts in Google Sheets, for example, with leaving comments. Mayday is a very critical one, and Joiin as well. Obviously, we also use a big part of our month end is cash flow forecasting, treasury management, things like that. And we use quite a simple cash flow software called Cashflow Frog, which integrates with Xero and is very granular. So we find that's particularly helpful for our very short-term cash flow forecasting. So we usually have a 3-month cash flow forecast within there. So that's been something that's been very helpful, just helps us achieve a bit more short-term accuracy on our cash flows than a more basic financial model or cash flow forecast.
So you kind of list off. Obviously, everyone here is already a member of the CFO Tech Stack community, so has read them anyway, of course. And if you have, joy. You mentioned kind of apps like Tapality, Numeric, Gacon. Previously, kind of decades ago, when we're all kind of desktop based and everything was done in Excel, what's the kind of the difference in timings that these kind of processes might have taken when you were doing it manually with kind of an unwieldy spreadsheet to now when you can kind of pull in something directly using Gacon, or you can make payments using Tapality?
I mean, things like Tapality, for example, I can't imagine running the business we run without a mass payments option, like a global mass payments option, because we pay hundreds of experts, if not thousands, every month in all different countries, small amounts. I dread to think how long that would take, and we definitely wouldn't be doing that with a 5-person finance team. I mean, we have a similar thing with our invoicing. That's another point. There's not just off the shelf pieces. Like if you have a tech team and a need to do it, you can do custom solutions as well. So we have custom solution where we can invoice transactions from our Arbolus platform, and they go directly into Xero. That again, I can't think how much time that would have saved on the invoicing side, as opposed to previously, exporting transactions, uploading them into Xero. It saves. Can't put it into numbers probably how much time these things save.
Yeah, and I can just give one quick example. So obviously reconciling intragroup loans between 2 Xero accounts was really tricky before we found Mayday, because ultimately you can have as many Xero entities as you want, but you don't get any group kind of consolidated view. So it would be about exporting 2 loan accounts to Google Sheets, copying one into the other, doing some formulae, looking for differences. It actually really was time consuming, and that was even before we had multi-currency loan accounts. So Mayday is just an example of a tool that we found that maybe solved quite or created efficiencies in quite a specific part of the month-end process, but we found a lot of those with different bits of software, and it just accumulates really quickly, and that gives me confidence that we can continue finding solutions like that to optimize and automate.
Amazing. I was keen to ask about, like, I know, Harriet, you've mentioned this a few times when we've spoken about not just thinking about month end that starts after the end of the month, but what can you do before month end that will have an impact on that time to close. I wonder if either both of you could elaborate on anything that you've applied in that sense that's had an impact.
Yeah, so I think I mentioned, earlier things like you can start checking your transactions and performing, checks and more internal audit tasks. There might be also journals you can post ahead of the month end, like your payroll. I think, doing bookkeeping throughout the month is essential, especially once your business gets over a certain size. For example, spend desk, if we didn't do all of that, if we left all of that till the month end, that would take a huge amount of time. Reconciling your payments between entities throughout the month, for example, all these things. There's I think we sometimes programmed to think that everything has to be left to month end, and if you actually critically look through your tasks, maybe you can do half a task before the month end and the rest of it you finish during month end. I would really encourage people to kind of really review the task list that they have and think carefully if there's even bits and pieces they can do of each task before the first of the month.
Yeah, I really agree with Harriet. Just to add, I mean, I don't love the term, but it's kind of like continuous close activities, and it can be as simple as just making sure the team is reconciling bank transactions and then raising queries on bank transactions that morning, rather than letting them accumulate. When we started thinking of that, again, it just meant that the first week of month end, we could actually focus on proper month-end activities rather than furiously chasing people to submit expense claims and answer queries on bank statements.
Amazing. And I'd like to pick up on something, Felix, earlier you talked about being sort of at the ledge, so to speak, of moving to an ERP system. And it's been a real thrill, the work that we've been able to do, ourselves and Joiin, and sort of spreading the word over the last 3 years around just how possible it is to scale with Xero plus its ecosystem as a larger SME with an in-house finance team. I wonder, if you'd be able to elaborate on, have there been moments where you've contemplated that your time with Xero had come to an end, and what is it that has convinced you that Xero is still the place for you to be able to thrive?
Yeah, I think for me it was just I didn't properly ask myself the question of why we needed to move to a bigger ERP system. I just assumed, because we'd reached the point where we had a foreign entity, that wow, it seems like the right thing to do, to get a NetSuite or something where you've got multi-entities in one view, etc. But to be honest, after the first demo and seeing the user interface, having used Xero for sort of 10 years plus, I just immediately thought, wow, this is going to be tricky, not only for me, but to sell to my team. And I'm not going to pretend it's all pros. I saw there's one question already talking about how Xero can handle group VAT returns. Well, okay, it can't. So if you have a group VAT return, you kind of need to choose the parent entity and do a bit of spreadsheet work and journaling. But for me, the pros massively outweigh the cons. And actually, we're reviewing our annual sort of Xero cost this year. Obviously it's not purely down to cost, but I think when you're in the sweet spot, which may be between 1 to 10 entities, it's actually incredibly cost effective, I think, for what you're getting there. And I can't speak highly enough of the API. There's so much you can do in terms of custom integrations by leveraging Zapier or Make, and then also the Xero marketplace. That is just such an exciting place, and there's some really, really good tools which can help you scale with Xero.
All right, anything to add on that front?
No, that was an excellent answer. No, very, very similar, to be honest. I think, both from, I wouldn't want to put that on my team, unless we had some very pressing reason to move. I mean, I've had some concerns about the transaction limits. For example, like I mentioned, we have very high volumes of these expert payments, and if you read what Xero says on the recommendations, we're already exceeding those, but we haven't noticed any issues. Also, just again, the ecosystem, like I love that there's all this creativity and, you know, technological advancements, and there's always new apps and great things and people doing exciting stuff. And, you know, it would concern me being locked into an ERP, for example, or more, you know, a more strict and like structured environment without necessarily the same access to these exciting new tools and developments.
Amazing. Well, on the subject of exciting tools, Harry, that's probably a good juncture. So I'll just share my screen and do the very brief trailer of Mayday. Whilst I'm doing that, please do fire through any questions in the Q&A that we can pick up with Felix and Harriet after this. All right. I think that should be coming through now. So Mayday very briefly. So our mission is mend month end, eliminate all the work between accurate bookkeeping and accurate accounting, starting with multi-entity pain points. So we solve 3 pain points. The first is intercompany balance sheet recs with our product balancer, which both Felix and Harriet have referred to. So you've mapped your intercompany relationships, either contacts or nominal codes, and then we constantly check whether or not those balances align. That prevents you from having to switch between Xero files to check. But then the real magic comes in if those balances don't align, because we're saving you that eye-watering task of comparing the transactions in a sheet between the two, manually matching them up. Fiendish if we have different base currencies involved. Now all of that is done for you automatically, thanks to our incredibly powerful intelligent matching engine, automatically matching up the transactions so that you can immediately see the one-sided postings that are the root cause of your intercompany discrepancy. A bunch of other stuff we do around automated FX postings, interest postings if you charge those on your loans as well. And then we help with intercompany charges. So where you have costs or revenues in one entity that you need to recharge between the other, quite simply, our recharging process, our recharge product eliminates 98% of the time of that, because you now have recharge rules. So think the bank rules that you have in Xero applied to your intercompany charges, telling the rules how the different transactions need to be treated, then running those rules each month, and then one-click posting the recharges back into Xero. So really reducing that recharging process to a 5-minute tick box exercise each month. Finally, our product brag, which is bank reconciliation across the group, where we have a bank transaction in one entity that relates to another. For example, one entity doesn't have a bank account yet, and therefore another entity has paid its bill. That's horrible today because I have to switch between Xero files, find the relevant transaction, create it if it doesn't yet exist, mark it as paid to the relevant intercompany code, then come back in and reconcile it off to the corresponding intercompany code. Now all of that is a thing of the past, because all within the Xero bank rec, I've got the Mayday tab, which is cross-entity bank rec, quite simply the match and create functions of the regular Xero bank rec on a multi-entity basis. So that completes the preview. Please do kind of visit our website. You can book a demo there, and would love to share more. Harry, over to you.
Thanks, David. And I make that 3 minutes to a T as well, and that was what we you've been timing that, haven't you? You've been timing. Okay, brilliant. So I'm gonna now kind of follow in David's footsteps there. So I'm just gonna share my screen a second. Okay. And quick thumbs up to make sure we can see it and everything. Yeah, perfect. Okay, so I'm going to whiz through again. So yeah, Joiin, multi-entity consolidation for Xero, QuickBooks, and Sage. Streamline that process, manage all of your kind of intercompany balances once you kind of sorted them and reconciled them in Mayday, and then kind of produce them in kind of great reports. So I'm going to fly through some of the different features. Dashboard, so everything comes off the shelf with Joiin, and then you can customize it however you see fit. This is kind of a standard dashboard that's provided the moment you sign in, giving you that value, all at a consolidated level, and all shareable across the group as well, different stakeholders and key decision makers. I'm going to open up one of our custom reports, so just to give you a flavor of what can be created with the Joiin. So basically kind of go and customize your reports however you see fit, create kind of manage your kind of intercompanies up here, so we can kind of remove our eliminated accounts, which we already know balance, of course. We can run our reports again. We can kind of remap our chart of accounts. So that's the kind of the common one that we get asked. Do you need standardized chart of accounts? The answer is no. I think it's like 98% of our users don't have one. You can use custom reports to tidy all of that up and create nicely kind of consolidated groups like you can see here, and we've just tidied that one up very nicely. All of it as well, deep links directly into Xero, it's saved as well, so you can click on any figure, open up the journals page, and then I can click here and dive directly into Xero as well. And then you can kind of go to the top of that, display your budgets on report if you wanted, which again will walk in from Xero, like so. Once you've kind of finished reports, you want to send it to the bank, key decision makers within the group, whatever you want to do, you can add it to a report pack. I'm just going to open up this report pack here, which I created previously, share by email, share from the link directly, however you want to play that, and just kind of group all these reports into one place for kind of presentation purposes. So we're also currently, so the reports look pretty good as they are at the moment. We're having kind of a bit of an overhaul at the moment. We're coming outside UX design, UI UX design team who are kind of creating even better reports for us, which are coming soon, kind of pre-Christmas. So just giving you flavor of some of the reports that can be created here and how they look at this moment in time. There we go. Okay. I'll stop my share there. I hope I didn't give away any kind of company secrets there. I think it needs to get to Harriet actually, so we're all good there. All good there. Great.
Amazing. So look, it looks like we've got a couple of questions that have come through. Christopher asked about group VAT returns. Felix kind of already picked that up. But yeah, Felix, I don't know whether you could maybe just briefly elaborate on that. So the question is around, okay, I've got multiple UK entities. How do I how do I effectively file group VAT returns in Xero?
Yeah, just a caveat, I looked into it many months ago, so I'm not sure the current state of play, but when I did look into it, Xero didn't have any group VAT return functionality, and it kind of speaks to what I said earlier. You can have as many Xero entities as you want, but they don't speak to each other sort of natively within sort of Xero. You don't get any consolidated view. And so it's one of those cons where, okay, there's sort of a workaround. You just choose your parent entity, and as I understand, prepare the group VAT return on a spreadsheet and then post a series of journals. So it's certainly something to think about, but you just need to look at that in the context of all the other pros and cons of Xero in your particular use case, and then make a decision whether that's the reason not to use Xero or stay with it.
Amazing. And then like a kind of bigger picture question, you know, if you could go back in time, what's the one thing you wish you'd done earlier?
Is that for me? One thing I guess get off spreadsheets earlier. So even when we were a small team, I think if I'd thought about month end as more of a project management task with both people and software being at its core, I think if I'd learned that earlier, I probably would have made month end a bit more fun for our early employees. But again, it's just a learning experience. But this is what I really see it about. Month end, it's about people ultimately, getting them engaged, and then making sure that you're using the right software to make the job as easy as possible for those people.
Amazing. Harriet, how about you? If you could, in the words of Cher, if you could turn back time.
I would say a similar thing to Felix, to be honest. I think one thing my new finance manager's come in and done, which is really great, is made this a real like management project piece. And you know, he's taking a lot more time than maybe we had in the past to help people, you know, prioritize, help people unblock themselves, really working with the more junior team members to pick up the pace. And yeah, that's enabled us to, like I mentioned earlier, just move on much quicker to these value add tasks, and you know, that gets finance seen as that really real valued partner in the company, not just the people that are chasing you for your receipts every week.
Great stuff. So there's we're already kind of 5 minutes past the concession end, but we've got a couple more that we'll answer here. Any of the kind of software related ones around kind of, does it kind of do this? We're going to answer those ones directly to you via email, but there's one here, interesting one from JK Menon. So thanks for this one. And JK asks if we could list all of the softwares that have been mentioned today. So now we've got kind of time to kind of plug something that we're kind of doing after the session. We're going to be doing kind of a bit of a joint case study where we'll kind of be referencing everything that's been discussed in this session. So obviously all the software lists, but also I'm going to do a plug for David as well. I'd recommend checking out the CFO Tech Stack, which we've mentioned a few times. So you can read his weekly newsletter, and he's also got his kind of advisory board on there as well, which is a list of all the different apps and all of the different use cases and requirements that I'd recommend checking out as well in collaboration with the case study that's coming soon.
Amazing. Well, look, Harry, I think we have a slide with a couple of promos, don't we?
We do indeed. We'll move on to that one. Okay. So
this just in terms of next steps. Thank you so much to everyone who's joined today, and a massive thank you to Harriet and to Felix for sharing their insights. You know, if you've liked what you've heard today about Mayday and Joiin and are interested to find out more, we are running the promotions that you'll see there. If you want to kind of sign up and embed us within your Xero multi-entity month-end stacks. So yeah, you can book a demo for Mayday on our website as well if you'd like to have a more detailed look before signing up for the 30-day free trial. But from my side, and yeah, Joiin, Harry, you just if you want to run through from a Joiin side.
yeah, no, very much in the same form, really. Yeah, we'll kind of both reach out to you at the end. Got a little poll that we can have in 2 minutes, kind of saying which of us would you like to speak to. But also just to let you know, kind of existing Joiin customers that stay to the end, we've got a special something that's for you as well that we'll be kind of introducing, and we'll follow up by email. Okay, so I'm just going to quickly kind of finish the session with a want to know more poll, just kind of saying which of the app vendors would you like to reach out to you, and I can see the vast majority of people have stayed to the end as well, which is always a good little insight into how the session went. So I think we'll leave it a couple of minutes and kind of close out from here. Anything else from any of the panelists?
No. Thank you. That was great. Really interesting.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Felix and Harriet. It's an absolute privilege to work with you. And yeah, thank you so much for sharing your advice. And thank you very much to everyone who attended today. We will be in touch.
Thanks very much. Bye-bye.
Hi, everyone.